A Song in Every Kiss by Lisa Swinton. Narrated by Lisa Swinton. Start. Stop. Holding the phone to her ear with her shoulder, Kay asked Regent, "What's the gig, Joey?" She scraped burnt scrambled eggs into the sink. It was too early in the day to start with a fail, though the cloudless summer sky begged to differ. A backup singer for a big name is down with laryngitis at Sweetheart's Music Festival. You in? Will I know the music? She dropped the fork in the disposal. Drat! She muttered and fished it out. Everyone knows the music if they've listened to the radio. You could sing it in your sleep. It didn't matter if she knew the songs or not. She picked up music fast. She needed a job to make the following month's rent. Great. When and where do I need to be? She ran water over the burned pan, and some of the droplets landed on her workout top. They've got a rehearsal space in Warehouse 1. Do you know where that is? Yep, I've worked there before. She squirted soap in the pan and left it in the sink to soak. She pushed her brunette locks away from her face with the back of her wet hand. Her messy bun was falling apart. Perfect. Be there in an hour. Find Tess. She'll have the contract and the rest of the details for you. This could be a big break for you. Kay shook her head. You always say that. Anyone can be a star. Why not you? Joey hung up. Because I don't want to be one? She muttered and checked the time. Ah! Debbie yawned and shuffled into the kitchen. Her short, spiky hair stuck up at odd angles. She wore a faded yellow robe with blue polka dots. What's the matter? Gig. I have to be across town, and I'll never make it in rush hour traffic. I'm not even ready. Kay indicated her shorts and tank top. Debbie wrinkled her nose. Did you try to cook again? I tried to scramble eggs. She snatched up her phone and headed for her room. Debbie called after her. How do you know so little about cooking when you grew up on a farm? Kay wrenched open her closet door. Every roommate says that. How she'd miss the cooking gene, she'd never know. Her mama could make angels sing with her biscuits and gravy. Kay grabbed a black outfit for rehearsal and 10 minutes later raced out the door. She gritted her teeth as she fought traffic. Upon arrival, she threw her old Honda Accord, one step away from being in the junk heap, into park and raced into Warehouse 1. Big Talent didn't advertise their whereabouts, but used company names instead. She didn't recognize the company on the signs as she headed toward a temporary stage set up with lights and a sound system. She approached the nearest crew member. He wore a black t-shirt with Flint Michael's tour schedule from last year on the back of it. Kay had long ago made peace with her failed relationship with Flint. At least that's what she told herself. Her heart constricted every time she saw anything with his name or face on it, an occupational hazard the past 3 years in Nashville. She tapped the guy on the shoulder. Excuse me, I need to find Tess. Do you know where she is? He kept his eyes on the sound cable in his hands. Probably in the office over there. He pointed to a back corner. Thanks. He turned, and his whole attitude shifted as he looked her over. With a smile, he said, I'd be happy to show you. He set down the cable. That's okay. I'm sure I can find the way. She took 2 steps in the indicated direction. You the new backup singer? Yes, she threw over her shoulder. She felt his appreciative gaze on her as she headed for the office. She purposely kept her hips from swaying so as to give him less to admire. In the corner, PVC pipes with black curtains hanging from them formed an office. Voices filtered through the barrier. Kay cleared her throat and then pulled back a corner of the curtain to poke her head in. Excuse me, I'm looking for Tess? The woman in the desk chair swiveled, while the man standing next to her straightened. I'm Tess. The woman set her computer screen to the background. Kay stepped in. I'm Kay Carson, the backup singer. My agent Joey sent me over. Excellent. The man extended his hand. I'm Hank, the manager. Happy to have you on board. Kay shook his hand. Thank you. I'll round up the talent while you fill out the paperwork. Rehearsal in 10. Hank turned his attention to Tess. We'll finish our conversation later. He left. Tess beckoned for Kay to take her seat at the computer. Let's set you up. We do everything online these days. She clicked the mouse to bring up the contract and tax forms. Fill these in. It'll be faster if you type your information instead of telling me an I type. It's $40 an hour and set for a week with the option to extend the contract beyond the Sweethearts Music Festival if you're a good fit. Any questions? No. Thanks for the opportunity. She'd done hundreds of these contracts over the past 7 years. At first, she read all the fine print, but after a while, she realized that rarely changed. We're grateful you were available. I swear, ever since we committed to this festival, it's been one catastrophe after another. Hopefully, we're done with those. Speaking of which, I have to deal with the latest one by making a phone call. When we're done, head for the stage. Carol and Donna, the other backups, can help you with the vocals and choreography. Thanks again, Kay." She waved and exited, her fingers already dialing. Kay did a mental happy dance as she entered her information, skipping through all the jargon. The unfamiliar company was listed at the top as the talent. She couldn't care less who she sang for on this pay scale. $40 an hour was on the generous side for a backup singer. She assumed the group must be a pretty big deal in the country music scene. She was excited to work with them. She hoped they'd extend the contract. Maybe she'd get to go on tour. When she was done, she diminished the form so the screensaver background showed. She didn't want her personal information available for anyone to see. She picked up her bag from the floor and headed to the stage. 2 women worked on choreography steps. One was tall and blonde. The other was petite with cornrows in her hair. Kay set her bag down and hopped up the steps. "Are you Carol and Donna?" The women stopped. "That's us," the petite one said. "I'm Donna Sugar." She extended her hand. "You must be the new singer." "I'm Kay Carson." She took Donna's hand and extended her hand to the blonde, who shook it. "Carol Maine." "Nice to meet you both," Kay said. "We were just going over some of the steps," Carol said. "We can show you." Donna butted in. "But first, let's go over the harmonies." "How about we do that all together?" Hank called from across the space. He had his arm around a man of military build and wearing a white Stetson. Kay shielded her eyes from the stage lights to see the approaching men better. Little butterflies of excitement burst into flight in her stomach now that she would meet the big-name talent. Frankly, Kay didn't care too much who it was. This job would keep her a few months away from homelessness. There was something strangely familiar about the swagger of the man next to Hank. But then, didn't all country singers swagger the same? With his head tilted down, the man came up the steps toward her and extended his hand. From the edge of the stage, Hank said, "This is Kay Carson." The man raised his head. "I know." He took her hand and held it in his. Kay's heart leapt while her stomach plummeted as she looked into those familiar green eyes. How could she possibly feel such discordance in one moment? "Flint," she whispered. "It's good to see you. It's been a long time." Those green eyes. She pulled her hand away and rushed down the stairs, grabbing her bag. "I'm sorry, Hank. I can't do this. I'll have Joey send you someone else." Forget professionalism. Forget the rent. She'd take homelessness. Her heart couldn't survive a week with Flint. She heard boots thudding behind her as she desperately tried to locate the exit. "Kay, wait." A hand caught her elbow and whirled her around. She landed with her palms on Flint's chest. She felt the wild beat of his heart, and his scent enveloped her. The same cologne. Memories swirled, adding to her already jumbled thoughts. "Please stay. We need you." He added, "I need you." That was the dose of reality she needed to clear her head. She pushed back, putting space between them, if for no other reason than to keep him from hearing the beat of her traitorous heart. "You didn't need me then, and you don't need me now." "We need to start rehearsing with you right away if we're going to be ready for the festival in time." She paused. Dang her parents for raising her to live up to commitments and be responsible. He took a hesitant step forward. "You signed the contract, right?" "You can tear it up," she spat back. Forget her upbringing. He folded his arms across his chest. "What would your mama say if I told her you'd left me in the lurch?" "You leave my mama out of this," Kay shouted, then lowered her voice. "She'd say you deserved it for what you did to her daughter." Flint's arms dropped. And she'd be right. "Look, Kay." "Save it." She turned and took 2 steps away. "I'll pay you double," he said. "It's the least I can do. I owe you." Kay stopped and shut her eyes. Money versus heartbreak. She took 3 slow breaths in and out. The truth was, she couldn't afford to walk away from this gig. Man, she hated Flint. She faced him. "Fine, double, but you owe me far more than money." He had no idea what he'd put her through. "Here are my terms. I'll do the show and be professional. You'll keep your distance and treat me like any other backup singer. Most important, we are absolutely not going to talk about the past. Any violations and I'll walk. But take it or leave it." She stared him down. He shook his head. "I never could best you in a staring contest. You win." He put out his hand. "Shake on it." It was her turn to shake her head. "Not on your life." She headed back toward the stage and a heartbreaking week. Chapter 2. Flint's thoughts were scattered, and he desperately tried to grasp onto one rational thought. Kay was here. The moment he'd hoped for and dreaded had arrived, and he'd bungled it thoroughly. Of course she was mad at him. He'd been crazy to think she'd moved on, forgotten him, forgiven him. He could never forget her. Leaving Kay was the biggest regret of his life. He wasn't going to make the same mistake twice. He pasted on a carefree smile as he returned to the stage. Hank raised an eyebrow at him. "Everything all right?" "Never better," Flint replied. Hank's eyebrow inched higher, but he didn't comment. "Let's run through the first 3 songs of the set and give Kay a chance to get the lay of the land. She can catch up on the choreography later." Flint watched the 3 women nod their heads before taking his place at the microphone up front. A crew member handed him his guitar, and he slipped the strap over his head. After a sound check, he nodded to his drummer, Wally, who laid down the beat to an up-tempo song that always got his heart pumping. This song had been his first single 3 years ago and started his launch to stardom. The crowds loved it. As he sang and played, he concentrated on Kay's voice. She did an excellent job of blending with Carol and Donna, but her voice would always stand out to him. Her voice was engraved in his memory and etched into his heart. When he caught her eye, she fumbled a harmony in the bridge. Hank cut them off. "Let's do the bridge again," he said. They repeated the bridge, and Flint made sure not to look anywhere near the singers. Kay's voice flowed seamlessly through this time. At the end of the song, Hank said, "This rehearsal isn't going to take very long if Kay knows all the songs that well." He gave her a smile. "Next one." As the music played, Flint noticed that Kay had no trouble remembering the words or the harmonies to his music. Was she a fan? Did she think of him when she heard his songs on the radio? Did she feel connected to him when she heard them? Did she know that all the songs he wrote were for her? Or was she a dutiful singer who learned all the songs in her genre by heart so she could be prepared at a moment's notice to pitch in when called? Was he just another face in the crowd? His stomach turned to lead, and he missed a chord. Hank gave him a look. Flint smiled and shrugged. He attempted to focus on the music, but found it was impossible to do with the woman he loved standing only a few feet away. "Excellent, folks," Hank said. "Let's run through the ballad and take a break." Flint nearly lost his mind during the ballad as he sang about a lost love and heartbreak. This was one of the few songs he hadn't written completely by himself. He shouldn't have it in the set. He could barely get through it with Kay behind him. What was she thinking? It was killing him not to know. But then, he didn't have any right to her thoughts, or her heart. The impetuous actions of his youth had nailed that coffin shut tight. When the song ended, Hank said, "I've got a few notes." Flint tuned him out as Hank rattled on. All he could think about was the woman behind him and how he was going to win her back. "Flint! Flint!" "Huh?" Flint looked at Hank. "Sorry, Hank, what did you say?" Hank gave him a puzzled frown, then addressed the band and the crew. "Give your lunch orders to Tess. Ladies, please work with Kay on the next set of songs until lunch arrives." Flint watched as Kay, Carol, and Donna set off to another part of the building. "A word, Flint?" Hank gestured for Flint to follow him to the office. Once inside, Hank crossed his arms and asked, "What's going on?" Flint rubbed a hand across the back of his neck. "Kay and I have a past." "Huh, that much is obvious. Perhaps it would be best to get a different singer." "No, I want her here." "Flint, this is business. I can't have you distracted." "If she leaves, I'll spend my time searching for her. That will be more of a distraction." Flint paced a minute. "Have you ever done something so dumb you couldn't believe you were ever such an idiot?" Hank's shoulders dropped and he sighed. "She's the reason you write the songs." "Yes." Hank rolled his neck. "I may regret this, but she can stay. You better fix whatever it was you broke." "That's the plan. I'm not letting her go this time." He rubbed his jaw. "And let Tess know I'm paying Kay double." "What?" "I owe her." Hank shook his head and tapped his thigh. "I don't think it's money you owe her." "It's not, but the extra pay got her to stay." "If the other girls find out..." "You know what? Pay them all double this week. Make it a bonus or something. We can afford it." "I'll tell Tess. She won't like it." "I know." "Hope she's worth it." Hank gave him a searching look. "I'd give up my career for her." Flint kept his gaze steady. "All right, put your lunch order in and get to work." He rested a hand on Flint's shoulder. "And I don't mean just on the music." Hank gave Flint's shoulder a squeeze and walked away with his hands in his pockets. Flint frowned at the floor as he walked. He placed his order for lunch. He had less than a week to win Kay's heart again. He was certain that if he blew it this time, it would be the end of them forever. Chapter 3. Kay danced the grapevine sequence, turned, and snapped her fingers. Like this? You got it, Donna said. The beads in her cornrows tapped against each other with every dance move. You catch on fast. Carol moved her shoe and rubbed the arch of her foot. Which studio do you go to here in town? I don't. Not enough time or money yet. Then where'd you get your training? Donna ran a small towel over her face, neck, and shoulders to remove the glistening perspiration from her skin. Dance studio back in Oklahoma. They taught everything from ballet to polka to hip-hop. Plus, I picked up a lot at the country bars. Everyone loves to line dance in the Midwest. She gulped eagerly from her water bottle. After 2 days with Carol and Donna, she felt comfortable enough to ask, So, which one of you is dating Flint? I've seen you both on his arms in pictures. Isn't that a little awkward? Carol and Donna shared a look, then burst out laughing. Sorry, I shouldn't have asked. It's too personal a question. Carol waved a hand at her as she took a drink from her water bottle. It's not too personal. I've been with Flint for over a year now. 1.5 years for me, Donna said. Then what's the deal? Kay asked. Is he dating someone else? Carol shook her head. Flint doesn't date. Kay's brows knit together. I don't understand. Donna leaned toward her. He's hung up on someone in his past. When he has to attend events with a date, we take turns being his partner. What? Kay clamped her mouth shut to keep from looking like a fish caught on a hook with its jaw hanging open. She couldn't stop her disbelief, though. You're joking. Nope. It's a good opportunity to get dolled up and meet a lot of people in the business that we might not get access to otherwise. Donna rolled up her towel and stuffed it in her bag. My husband doesn't mind at all. You're married? Kay took another look at Donna's left hand. No ring. Donna held up her hand. I have metal allergies, so I don't wear a ring. But trust me, I'm very happily married and looking forward to the day when I can start cranking out babies. She beamed. Kay turned to Carol. And you? Boyfriend. He doesn't mind either. He knows it's strictly business. Besides, Flint is a perfect gentleman. You'll see when you go out with him tonight. Me? Kate looked between the women to see if they were pulling a joke on her. Oh, sorry. Did we forget to tell you? Donna asked. We've been so busy teaching you harmonies and choreography that I didn't even think about it until now. Carol shifted her weight. The woman you replaced, it's her turn to be Flint's date at the party tonight. You know, the one to kick off the festival? Yes? Kay stretched out her word. This couldn't be happening. Since you replaced her, you're his date. Donna smiled. But I can't. Kay gripped her water bottle tight. I can't go out with him. Flint won't take advantage of you if that's what you're worried about. Carol ran a brush through her hair. Smile, shake hands, be polite, and don't drink. Donna interjected. It's Flint's #1 rule. No drinking at public appearances. Carol stowed her brush in her bag and slung the bag over her shoulder. I've only ever seen Flint knock back a beer in private, and even then, it's only one. Sometimes not even that much. Her brows furrowed. Funny. I never thought about that before. Kay knew the answer to the unspoken question, but she wasn't about to bring up Flint's dad's propensity to knock back a 6-pack of beer at a time. At least, that's how he drank before Flint left. Afterward, Mr. Michaels had been a faithful member of AA. He hadn't touched a drop since the day Flint departed their small Oklahoma town, leaving behind a trail of dust and broken hearts. Flint popped his head around the partition. How's it going, ladies? His eyes landed on her. Kay gulped. Perspiration beaded her forehead, and it wasn't from the dancing. Carol hefted her bag. We're finished. She's all yours. She pointed at Kay. Kay's heart raced at the sparkle in his eye. This was so not good. She couldn't get through a night with him if he continued to look at her like that. The walls around her heart would tumble as if they'd been caught in a twister. We assured her she's in good hands tonight. Do not make us liars. Donna poked him in the chest with a long polished nail and winked at Kay. Carol had, Yes, you're always a gentleman with the taken women. Don't break your rules with the single lady. She swept past him and smiled at Kay before she disappeared around the partition. Donna was right behind her. Flint rubbed the back of his neck, a sure sign he was nervous. Turned out old habits never changed. His show of anxiety allowed a little bit of calm to enter Kay. I guess the ladies explained about tonight and the arrangement? Yes. She took a breath and turned on her professionalism, her only defense technique to stop her heart and body from responding to Flint. What is the dress code? She wiped her hands on her leggings. Drat! Now he knew she was nervous. His lips twitched to the corners. Dress. Heels. A little bling. The usual upscale country look. Kay mentally flipped through her wardrobe, desperate to assemble an outfit that would fit the bill. Nothing. I'll see what I can do. I'm sure you'll look great. I'll pick you up at 7. The event starts around 6, but no one ever comes on time. Not fashionable. She quirked a brow. Your mama would tan your hide if she knew you weren't being punctual. He nodded. That she would. He shoved his hands in his pockets. See you in a couple of hours. He disappeared. Kay grabbed her bag and raced after him. Wait, don't you need my address? He faced her. Already got it. Oh. Would you like me to pick you up at your apartment door? No, she said a little too quickly. She definitely didn't want him to see her humble lodgings. He certainly lived in something much grander if the internet was to be believed. He raised a brow. Text me and I'll meet you in the lobby, she said. Okay. Do you need the number? I've got that too. A small blush crept into his cheeks. She narrowed her eyes at him. How long have you had my number? An hour. I got it from Tess. Oh. He packed up. I'll let you get home to get ready. See you soon. Kay watched him walk away. What had she gotten herself into? She plunged her head into one hand. A date, you moron. A date with Flint Michaels, she muttered to herself. Chapter 4. Flint had been quick but thorough in his preparations for his date. He praised the heavens that it was her turn to be his date for the Sweethearts Music Festival opening party. The mix and mingle for the talent was definitely not his scene, but one of the requirements of being a big name in Nashville. He sent the text he'd prepared and erased at least 3 times on the drive over. One word blinked into life on the screen. Here. Smooth, Flint, real smooth. He rested his head against the back of the seat. He was an idiot. What did he think was going to happen tonight? His daydream was for Kay to enter the car, kiss him passionately, and declare that she'd always loved him. He closed his eyes. That wouldn't happen. But it was important for him to start breaking down her barriers, and this event was a perfect opportunity. He exited the car and went inside her apartment building lobby. It was clean, but shabby. A musty smell met his nose. He traced the crack in the ceiling with his eyes. The building was certainly due for an overhaul. He doubted it was up to code. Heels sounded on the stairs. That was odd. Her place was on the 5th floor. Flint's eyes flicked to the elevator. A yellowed out-of-service sign hung crookedly on the doors. She needed a better place. Movement out of the corner of his eye turned his head. Kay descended the last 3 steps, and his eyes drank her in. She wore a little black dress, some simple sparkly jewelry, and turquoise western boots. He sucked in a breath. Are those the same boots from when we were teens? She nodded. But I can change. If this isn't the right look, I'll be back in 5 minutes. She stepped toward the stairs. Flint propelled into motion and caught her arm. No, this is great. You look perfect. Touching her felt like fire ants crawling up his arm. She looked down at his hand and he released her. Had she felt the fire between them too? Thanks. Kay tucked a brunette curl behind her ear. You look nice too. There was a tone of shyness. It reminded him of their first date their senior year of high school. He felt the same way then as he did now. He was the luckiest man in the world that this beautiful woman would go out with him. He didn't deserve her. Should we go? Kay pointed to the door. Oh, right, yes. He put a hand on the small of her back as they walked to the car, a tiny act he'd done so many times before. They'd been kids then. There was no mistake that Kay was all woman now. He admired her curves. He opened the car door and she slid in. Normally his driver would do the honors, but he wanted to show Kay he was a man who knew how to take care of the woman he loved. They rode in awkward silence. Kay twisted her bracelet. He covered her hand with his. It's going to be okay. You'll be great. That's not what I'm worried about. She removed her hand from his. Then, what are you worried about? He'd do anything to remove that worry line between her eyebrows. She gestured between them. This? Us? Her focus turned to the tinted window. Is there an us? She didn't look at him. You know there isn't. Please let me explain and apologize for why I left that night. She held up a hand that trembled slightly. It doesn't matter. It's past. It's over. I've moved on. He ran a hand through his hair. That makes one of us, then. What? Sir, we're here, the driver announced. Thanks. He took a breath. Getting her to listen would be harder than he thought. She'd also threatened to walk out on the contract if he brought up the past. There had to be a loophole somewhere in their agreement. He grabbed the door handle. Flint? Warmth radiated in his chest when she said his name. He'd noticed she'd avoided using it since their reunion. Yes? Your hair? Kay pointed at his head. She wiped her hands on her dress. A myriad of emotions played across her face, indicating an internal war. He'd seen it before. She twisted her bracelet at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Oh, I'll fix it. Before he could blink, her hands were in his hair, adjusting strands. He bit down his bottom lip to stop a groan from escaping. He'd missed her touch more than he'd realized. Fire ants danced in his belly. All done. He caught her wrists before she could take her hands back to her lap. Kay. His eyes locked on hers. He could tell she was affected by touching him, and she was trying to hide it. Kay. He inched closer. She pulled her hands away. Don't read anything into that. I didn't want your hair to look a mess in the photos. She gestured out the window toward the waiting photographers. Right. He opened the door, stepped out, and offered her his hand so she could exit gracefully. She paused a moment before taking his hand and rising to stand beside him. Flashes blinded him. He propelled her toward the entrance of the event center. Voice called, Who's with you, Flint? Kay Carson, he replied, still moving forward. How long have you been dating? Another person yelled. Where did you meet? Is it true you fired your backup singer because she's carrying your baby? Flint flinched and felt Kay's back tense where his hand rested. He got them through the doorway. She threw his hand off and turned on him. Her eyes blazed with fiery pain. Was that last question true? Did you tell everyone she had laryngitis to hide her pregnancy until you could come up with a better story? Did you do it to lure me here? No, absolutely not. I would never do that. She really has laryngitis. You can check with Donna. She took her to the doctor and was there for the diagnosis. Kay stared at him a long moment. Flint finally understood that he had not only broken her heart, he had lost her trust too. 2 bridges to rebuild. Fine. No. Flint pulled out his phone. We're not leaving this spot until you check my story with Donna. I believe you, she said. No, you don't. I saw it in your eyes, Kay. I want you to trust me again. Not likely, she muttered. He thrust his phone at her. Call. With a sigh, she pressed the call button. Hi, Donna, it's Kay. What happened to the singer I replaced? Some of the photographers were spreading rumors. Flint watched as Kay listened and nodded. Thanks. She hung up and returned Flint's phone. I believe you. I will never lie to you. Too late, she muttered. Kay. Fine. No lies. Promises are different, though. He opened his mouth to reply. She held up her hands. We're not doing this now. She smoothed her dress and pasted on her professional smile, the one that didn't reach her eyes. From here on, I'll be the perfect date. She looped her arm through his and tugged him through the building. They passed through a set of open doors that led to a lawn where an enormous tent was set up. Chapter 5. Kay spent her time trying to keep her jaw off the floor as she met one musical star after another and their +1s or agents or managers. 5 or 10 minutes with each of them proved their humanity and gave her exposure to more work than she'd imagined in a lifetime. Worrying about rent might become a thing of the past. A stunning blonde with curls and trademark smoky eyes and red lips approached. Flint released Kay's arm to hug the woman. Kay gulped hard as she tried to tamp down her inner fangirl. Who is this beautiful lady? The woman asked, releasing Flint and fastening her eyes on Kay. Flint grinned. This is Kay. The woman extended her hand. Kay stared at it. With a chuckle, Flint nudged Kay's arm. Shake Sarah's hand, Kay. Kay did as directed, then pumped their hands furiously as her professional composure slipped. Oh my gosh, you're Sarah Silver. I'm so excited to meet you. I love all your songs. Sarah laughed and closed her other hand over their clasped ones. I'm married now. Technically, I'm Sarah Silver Jameson, but I kept my professional name in the industry for sanity's sake. Where is your husband? Flint looked over the crowd. He's at home. One of the littles was sick, and while we could have gotten a sitter, we'd like to take care of them when they're down. Parenting. She shrugged. And since Cal couldn't exactly pass off as me. Sorry to hear that. I was looking forward to seeing him again. He's always been nice to me. Flint leaned in to whisper. He's so down to earth that I prefer talking to him to most anyone here. I'll tell him you said so. How do you know her husband? Kay asked Flint. She was sorry not to meet Cal, too. She wondered if he looked as good in person as in photos. Sarah laid a hand on Flint's arm. I had the good fortune to take Flint on tour with me a few years ago. I'd say it was my good fortune. I caught a set of his in an outdoor venue one night. I wasn't supposed to be there, but fate has a way of working things out. I called my producer right away and told him to go sign Flint immediately. I held up my phone so Rusty could hear him play. After the set was done, she came backstage and I fell on the floor. Sarah giggled. He really did fall over. Kay could understand the feeling. She felt like she was about to fall over from meeting one of the biggest megastars in country music. Then Sarah told me to come to the studio the next day to meet Rusty, Flint said. And the rest is history. Sarah patted his arm. Sarah is the reason everyone knows my name. She's the one who launched my career. You're too modest. You didn't need my help. You were always going to be a star. That's true. Kay bit her lip. Sarah and Flint looked at her. Sarah said, Did you know Flint before he came to Nashville? Yeah. Why had she opened her big mouth? She didn't want to rehash the past in front of one of her idols. Flint shifted his weight and shot Sarah a look. He cleared his throat. We grew up together in Oklahoma. Oh. Understanding dawned in Sarah's eyes, and Kay wanted to melt on the floor. Oh, she's the one who got away. Kay crossed her arms and glared at Flint, one eyebrow raised. Is that how you tell the story? Flint's face turned the color of beets. He rubbed the back of his neck. Surprised you even mentioned my name. He didn't, Sarah interjected. Flint, could you grab us some water? He nodded and scooted away. Let's sit a minute. She took Kay by the hand and led her to a bench. I don't need to know what happened between you two to say this. Flint came to Nashville after the army. I met him before he made a name for himself, and we became good friends on the tour. Kay wondered if they'd been kissing friends. As if reading her thoughts, Sarah said, We never dated. There was nothing like that between us. She ran a finger down one of her golden curls. I guess it takes a lost soul to recognize one. She was silent a minute. Anyway, I asked him where he got his inspiration for his songs, and he said there was a girl back home who inspired all of them. All of them? That seems a stretch. I doubt I've inspired anything you've heard Flint sing. Kay scoffed. I brought you water. Flint handed them each a miniature bottle. The women rose. Thanks, Flint. I'd better continue making the rounds so I can get home to my family. Sarah smiled at Kay. It was nice to meet you. I hope you two will come visit us on the ranch soon. We can sing Disney princess songs into whisks. She winked. If country music wasn't centered in Nashville, I'd probably never leave Wyoming. Oh, no, we're not a couple. Kay gestured between herself and Flint. Mm-hmm. Sarah grinned. Don't be a stranger. Flint knows the way. See you soon. She gave Flint a quick hug and moved past them. Wait! Kay called. Sarah turned. Could I get a picture with you? Kay blushed. Of course. Sarah pointed at Flint. Will you do the honors? Flint took pictures with the women's phones. Thank you, Kay said to Sarah. Flint, be sure and text me Kay's info so I can hashtag her on social media. He nodded. Yes, ma'am. You're a singer, right? Kay bobbed her head up and down. She's an amazing singer, Flint said. I'm grateful to borrow her for the festival as one of my backups. Wonderful. Flint has an excellent eye for talent. I'll have my producer give your agent a call the next time I need someone. Would that be okay? Kay's knees threatened to buckle. Sarah Silver was asking if it was okay for them to sing together. I'd love it, she managed to squeak out. See you soon. Sarah waved and sauntered off. Flint guided her to the bench. I think you'd better sit down. You look like you might faint. He wrapped an arm around her and pulled her to him. You're trembling. Did Sarah Silver just invite me to sing with her? He chuckled. Yes, I think she did. Kay turned. Did she mean it, or was it a throwaway comment? Sarah never says anything she doesn't mean. She's a straight shooter, like her husband. He reached over and pushed a curl behind her ear. I've learned a lot from watching them and their kids. Kay noticed how close their heads were. She could see gold flecks in his green eyes. She dropped her gaze, afraid if she stared too long into those orbs she'd get lost under Flint's spell. She pressed her palms together. Who was she kidding? She'd never gotten out from under his spell, even after he broke her heart. She twisted her bracelet. What have you learned? What it looks like to love someone with your whole heart, even when you disagree or you get hurt by them. I learned how to apologize and accept forgiveness. You could have learned that from your parents. He shook his head. Not likely. Well, not back then. After you left. Bitterness clogged her throat, but she pushed through. Your dad changed. He hasn't touched a drop of alcohol since that day. The whole town would know if he had. He's a sponsor with AA. She raised her eyes. He treats your mom like a queen. I think he's trying to make up for the years he was less than the man he should have been to her. To you both. He's not the only man in our family who needs to make up for mistreating the woman he loves. He traced a finger down her cheek. She pushed out from under his arm. Stop. Just stop. You don't love me. You never did. If you had, you'd have called, written, come back. You left me in a mess of hurt. Tears glazed her eyes. She wiped them furiously away and headed across the lawn, away from the crowds and from Flint into a deserted section of trees. He came after her, caught her by the waist, and turned her into his chest. I'm sorry for leaving you without an explanation. I was young and overwhelmed and scared. Our plan to head to Nashville came crashing down on me. I could barely take care of myself, and I knew I'd have to take care of you too. I had no idea how to do all of that. I panicked and ran. I drove until my gas tank was empty, and I enlisted at the nearest army recruiter. I spent the next 4 years growing up, learning independence, and writing songs for you. Thoughts of you were all that got me through the tough days. When I realized what I'd done, how I'd hurt you, I was too ashamed to talk to you. I was a coward. Yes, you were. Did you ever consider how I felt? I was scared too. We were young and leaving home to start this big adventure, but we were doing it together, and that's what mattered to me. I could face all the hard things with you by my side, but you left me alone to deal with the hard things. I'm sorry, baby. The word baby triggered a myriad of emotions. I was pregnant. The words came out before she could stop them. Kay clamped her hands over her mouth. She'd never meant to tell him. She'd intended to carry that secret to her grave. What? Flint looked like she'd slapped him. She lowered her hands to her chin. I was pregnant. This time she didn't stop the tears from sliding down her cheeks. Sorrow for their lost child and their lost future washed away her anger. He took a step toward her, and she stepped back. Why didn't you tell me? She heaved a big sigh. I only found out the day before. I didn't know what to do. Tell you? Tell my mom? Go to the doctor? Be sure I really was? I was 17 and scared out of my mind that I'd ruin your career and our lives before they even started. I knew you'd be a star, and I didn't want our baby to stand in the way. You were meant for more than our small town, Flint. But then you left and none of it mattered anymore. My parents didn't say anything. Flint's voice was laced with anguish. I didn't know. Kay folded her arms across her stomach. You're the first person I've ever told. Flint trembled and his voice wobbled. What happened to the baby? Did you give it away? A flash of anger raced through her. I could never do that. I lost it a week after you left. Convinced my mom I had a really heavy period and stayed home for 2 days. She held her arms tighter around her waist, reliving the experience of her miscarriage. She half expected to see blood on the ground from the pain of the memories. The worst part was, I felt relief at not having ruined your future, and of not having to face the world as a young single mom with no skills or abilities to raise a child. Guilt killed me more than losing the baby. Tears coursed down Flint's cheeks. Dealt with it on your own? You weren't there, and I had no way to tell you. She hated how small and weak she sounded. I'm so sorry. He choked on a sob and pulled her against his chest. This time, Kay led him. They mourned together over the loss of 2 teenagers in love who broke apart, and they mourned over the child that didn't live. At least, that was what Kay imagined Flint was crying over. His tears wet her hair and face. He kissed her forehead. Even in the midst of this tender moment, Kay found peace and solace in his arms. He was her home, but when the moment ended, she knew she'd have to return him to his mansion. This Flint didn't belong to her. He hadn't for 7 long years. I'm sorry, Kay. he whispered. What's done is done. Clearly, things were meant to be this way. You became a star. I only wanted to be part of the journey. She slipped from his arms.
Kay, how can I fix this?
His tear-stained cheeks put cracks in her resolve. There's nothing to fix. We were young kids in love once. That's over. You're a star. I'm a backup singer who doesn't aspire to be anything more. I think it's best if I leave now.
You mean the party or the contract?
Kay looked up at the sky, wishing the heavens to give her a clear answer. I probably should leave the contract, but I'm a professional, so I'll fulfill it. But I think it's best if I not be offered an extension or another contract with you. It's too painful for both of us. She wiped under her eyes. I'm sure I've ruined my makeup with this crying jag. I'd like to go home before I give the gossip columnist something bigger to wag about. I imagine our slip away from the party has been noticed.
I doubt my red eyes will go unnoticed.
Flint heaved a sigh.
I'll text Hank that we're leaving because you're not feeling well.
Why can't you text him that you're not feeling well? Why place the blame on me?
Fine. I'll tell him I'm not feeling well.
Few keystrokes later, Flint said.
Let's go.
He took her by the hand. Kay yanked her hand away, feeling as if she touched fire.
Kay.
Flint's voice was weary.
Professional and charming until we're in the car, okay?
She bit her lower lip and nodded. Okay. He claimed her hand once more and threaded their way through the throng and through the exit. Once safely in the car, he slipped his hand from hers, and they rode in silence to her apartment. Kay missed the touch of his hand and mulled over the night's twists and turns. She'd met one of her music heroes and had an offer to sing with her, not to mention all the other opportunities she'd opened. Flint had openly cried when he learned about the miscarriage. His tears eased her burden and brought a measure of peace to her heart that she hadn't known she needed or expected. The residual feelings left her emotionally scattered. The car pulled up. Flint exited first and then helped her out.
Kay, I'm so sorry.
She placed a finger over his lips. I know. I don't need your apologies anymore. She ran a few fingers through his dirty blonde hair. It was longer than when they were teenagers. It looked good on him. He'd grown and changed. So had she. He gripped her hand.
But Kay.
I mean it. I know it was terrible to hear, but sharing the truth with you, not having to carry that burden alone anymore, has left me lighter. I suppose that doesn't make any sense.
I think I know what you mean.
He turned her hand over and kissed the palm.
Thank you for tonight. I'm sorry you missed the show and the dancing.
It's okay. I'm sure there will be other Sweethearts Music Festivals kickoff parties to attend in the future. Good night, Flint. He relinquished her hand, and she entered her apartment building. Safe inside her place, she examined her palm. Surprised, Flint's lips weren't imprinted on it. She knew he was still imprinted on her heart. Chapter 6. Flint knew it was do or die time. Time to lay it all on the line for Kay or watch her walk out of his life forever. Most of the set was over. The final set he would play at the festival. True to her word, Kay'd been the model professional. He loved knowing she was behind him when he performed. Her presence made him stretch to be better each time they were on stage together. In their downtime off stage, he caught up on her past 7 years. He painstakingly worked to rebuild their friendship. She'd followed their dream and come to Nashville on her own, to get a living as a dance teacher and backup singer. She turned singing into a full-time gig a year ago. He was proud of the strong woman she'd become. His greatest regret was not trusting in her strength 7 years ago. If he had, they would have pursued their dreams together, gotten married, and started a family. The crowd cheered on their feet as he finished the song.
Thanks for coming out tonight,
he said. The audience roared for more. He turned to his band and singers and motioned for them to clear the stage. They exchanged confused looks before they left. He saw the startled faces of Hank and Tess off stage. He was going rogue. Flint returned his attention to the crowd, which quieted down as he stepped up to the microphone.
You may have noticed there's a new lady behind me tonight. You can thank fate for that. We were high school sweethearts and sang together. We have a special song. Would you like to hear it?
The crowd yelled and stomped their feet in request. Flint held out a hand to where Kay stood backstage. Her face went pale, and she shook her head vigorously.
Come on, Kay. They all want to hear it.
Her shaking grew more frantic, and her eyes widened as Tess and Hank tried to propel her back onto the stage. Tess whispered something in Kay's ear, and she seemed to snap out of her panic. She smoothed her hands over her black leggings and stepped into the lights. Her turquoise western boots clicked against the wooden stage. She pasted on a smile and gave a small wave to the crowd. With narrowed eyes, she hissed, "What are you doing?" He covered the mic with one hand.
Do you remember the words?
Of course I remember the words. I don't think I can sing them with you without becoming a sobbing puddle on the floor, which I'd rather not do in front of a crowd. She gestured to the expectant people below. In general, I try to avoid public humiliation.
You might not be the only puddle on the floor by the end, but if this is the last time I ever get to sing with you, then I want this memory.
She wrung her hands. I may never forgive you for this. She retrieved a microphone and stand from behind them and set it up next to him.
I may ask a whole lot more than forgiveness from you tonight.
Panic returned to her eyes, though she kept her smile in place. Flint strummed the opening chords, and the crowd settled down. Through the lights, he could see phones pointed his direction. This night was going to end up on the internet in a few minutes. His stomach was in knots, and his heartbeat was off the charts. He hoped he wouldn't have a heart attack. Perspiration ran down his back, and the drops weren't solely due to performing under the lights for the past 45 minutes. He sang the first verse, and Kay added her harmonies to the chorus. Her first notes wobbled, then steadied as she gained control, though he saw her legs trembling in her boots. He relished the sound of her voice mixed with his. They were a perfect match. Her smoothness evened out his gravel. She took the second verse, keeping her eyes on the crowd and averted from him. He watched the planes of her face, her jaw working as she sang, and read the inner struggle she fought. This gave him hope that she felt something as they sang, and he prayed her emotional walls crumbled with each note. She would hummed during the bridge, and Flint thought back to the last time they'd sung this song. Their legs swung from the tailgate of his truck. His old guitar rested in his lap while he drank in the sight of her in the moonlight as the crickets and the frogs added to the music. Her waist-length hair begged to have his hands in it, while her lips called him like a siren song.
I love you, Kay.
I love you too, Flint.
Promise, I'll always be there for you.
She cupped his cheek. I know you will. Flint snapped back to the present. He'd broken his promise. His voice faltered as they finished the final chorus, and Kay gave him a concerned look. He strummed the last chord, and the crowd howled their approval. Flint took her hand and raised it.
Kay Carson, y'all.
The cheers amplified, and Kay blushed. She moved toward the side of the stage. Flint said into the mic,
If you can bear to stay up here a little longer, Kay, I have one more song to share.
He turned to the audience.
Would it be okay with you folks if I sing one more?
The audience was all for it. He pulled 2 stools to center stage and patted one for Kay to sit on. With a reluctant sigh, she took her place.
This song has never been performed before, never recorded. It's called A Song in Every Kiss. Would you like to be the first to hear it?
The sound of the audience was momentarily deafening. Flint, Kay whispered, what are you up to?
Showing you how much I love you in the only way I know how,
he answered. Kay gawked at him and wrapped her arms around her stomach. Her shoulders rounded, and she looked as if she were bracing herself. He longed to hold her, comfort her, and prove to her she was his everything. But first, the music. If that didn't say it all and convince her, nothing he did afterward would. He strummed the first chords. The crowd quieted, and sensing a ballad, waved lighter apps on their phones. His song told about his young love, his poor choice in a moment of panic, how he'd wronged her and regretted it every day, how there was only one love in his life, one woman who made him complete and strived to be a better man than the day before. He sang to her, ignoring the audience witnessing this tender moment between 2 broken-hearted lovers. Tears streamed down Kay's face and her shoulders shook. She wiped at her cheeks. He communicated silently with the emotions he couldn't put into words. He poured his heart and soul into the last chorus, one final push of love for her. How do you apologize to the woman you lost, when you were too young to understand the cost of her every heartbroken sigh, every tear that she cried? How do you show her you've mended your ways, desire to shower her with love every day? How do you ask her to forgive you when you can't do the same? How do you kiss her lips with yours between the sorrows and the chords to tell her she's a song in every kiss, and every kiss begins and ends with K? The last chord faded. The silence was more deafening than the raucousness of the crowd all evening. Flint felt the eyes of all on him, but he concentrated only on Kay. He slid his guitar around to his back, knelt down on the ground, and took her trembling hands in his own shaking ones.
I've only ever loved you, Kay. You're the only woman for me. I've made mistakes. I'd like to ask you to forgive me if you can, and I'd like us to build a future together, better than the one I threw away. I will spend every day proving to you that giving me a second chance is not a mistake. My feelings for you have grown over the years, but my life is nothing without you in it.
He gestured to the arena.
I love what I do, Kay, but I love you more. I'll walk away from my career if that's what you want and never look back. Nothing in my life is more important than you, and I promise,
he choked on his emotions,
to never break a promise to you again.
Kay openly sobbed, her eyes concentrated on their clasped hands. Her tears fell on them. In the hush, Flint waited and hoped and prayed. The moment stretched. He took one finger and tipped her head up to look at him. His heart leapt at the look in her caramel brown eyes. He wiped a tear from her cheek with his thumb.
What do you say, Kay? Will you give us one more chance?
She gulped twice. I don't want you to leave your career, she got out.
What do you want?
His voice was husky with emotion. You. I've only ever wanted you. She slid off the stool to kneel with him on the stage. Their knees touched. That was all the encouragement Flint needed. He cupped the back of her head in his hand and drew her lips to meet his. In the background, he heard the roar of the crowd, but tuned it out as Kay's kiss consumed all his senses. The smell of her Paris shampoo that intensified as he ran his hands through her curls, the pull of her hands in his hair, the trail of kisses he made along her jaw, to her ear and back again to her lips, the taste of her strawberry lip gloss. A small moan escaped her, and fire ran through Flint's body. He tugged her tighter until their chests met, and he felt their hearts beat as one. As their lips met over and over again, the song in his mind played, which only happened when he kissed Kay. Her song. Their song. One he would never share with anyone else. Reluctantly, he pulled his lips from hers. He pressed his forehead to hers, their breathing ragged. The sounds of hoots and catcalls roared to life in his ears. He turned his head toward the crowd. They stomped their feet and jumped up and down with joy. Kay slid her hand from his cheek to his chest. I think we've given them enough of a show for one night. How about we take this summer more private, and you can start showing me all the ways we're going to make our future together?
Love to.
He helped her to her feet and wrapped his arms around her waist.
I love you, Kay. You'll never regret choosing us.
I never have. She brushed her lips across his 3 times. The warmth of her breath and lips had his body in overdrive. Where can we go to get privacy? She asked, her eyes smoldered with love and longing.
Wyoming. We'll stop in Oklahoma to get married. I can't wait one more day to be without you. We've waited long enough.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you for listening to A Song in Every Kiss by Lisa Swinton. Copyright of the text 2018, narrated by Lisa Swinton. Copyright of the production 2024. You can learn more about Lisa Swinton at www.lisaswinton.com.